Thank you, Mike. As Mike said, I'm Nancy Eaton, Dean of University Libraries and Scholarly Communications, and one of the co-sponsors of this institute, along with the Rock Ethics Institute. Many of the questions that we're going to be raising today really do get down to ethical issues in terms of the public good. So we're very pleased to have the Rock Ethics Institute as our partner. The Kaplan Institute program today will explore how technology has affected the spheres of scholarly debate and public discourse, and how the roles are changing for publishers and libraries as they develop and support these important issues. It's a special honor to have all of you with us for this very first Kaplan Institute. I'm going to try to set the stage for the speakers by talking a little bit about what's happening with the public good. Knowledge and information have been described as classic examples of what economists call public goods. A public good, by their definition, is a resource that is available to all of us, resources that each of us can use and benefit from without limiting anyone else's ability to do the same. While knowledge and information are public goods, they're accessed through a market that is undergoing a rapid and somewhat unpredictable transformation through the technologies of communication. And that's really the heart of today's program. Earlier this month, Elinor Ostrom became the first woman to win the Nobel Prize in Economics for her analyses of how diverse institutions and parties with different motives and interests can effectively sustain communal resources and avoid their destruction. Ostrom and Charlotte Hess write in their recent volume, Understanding Knowledge as a Commons, as follows, quote, "New technologies can enable the capture of what were once free and open public goods. Such technologies create a fundamental change in the nature of the resource, transforming it from a public good into a common pool resource that needs to be managed, monitored, and protected to ensure sustainability and preservation. Nothing has changed how we communicate information as rapidly as the internet has. We can share new discoveries and report new information faster than ever. Readers can follow the details of an international crisis in real time. Search strategies and technologies, especially Google's, which has gained critical mass, have made it easier to locate information and publications around the world. The internet has continued an expansion of information access that began with Gutenberg 500 years ago. But as Ostrom and Hess imply, technology also allows information to be captured and exploited in a way that requires management and protection. While it can expand access, the internet can also make it easier to control, limit, and prevent access to information. We've seen many examples of this in the past decade. We've seen journals withdraw articles either because of fraud or controversy, but once withdrawn, they're not available again. After the September 11th attacks, many publications, reports, databases, and maps disappeared from U.S. government websites, and many libraries were asked to withdraw publications that had been open public documents. Fearful of piracy, many publishers sell electronic books now with very tight digital rights controls and contracts. In addition, subscriptions to electronic journals and databases are likely to be under a license or a rental contract, if you will, between the library and the distributor. Publisher licenses may place constraints on what libraries can do with that information that supersede protections available in the current copyright laws and established through decades, if not centuries, of precedent. And then there's Google, whose ambitious plan to digitize millions of books from libraries around the world, including Penn State, we're digitizing at this time ourselves, promises to provide access to information on a scale not previously known. Their goal is 20 million books available online. But the Google Book Search Project also threatens to hand control of this information over to a single commercial entity, acting in concert with those who have a financial stake in the success. Do we truly trust a publicly held company to always act in the public interest? And who defines the public interest? Google's proposed legal settlement with the Authors Guild and the Association of American Publishers prompted librarians, publishers, authors, and members of the general public to file briefs during the open comment period with the courts that were both critical and supportive. It will be up to the courts now to try to sort through some of that. The Department of Justice and the Copyright Office have also weighed in. Google must provide the court a response to these public comments by November 9th, so stay tuned. This is an extremely important issue. In the public sphere and in scholarship, access to information is not a given. In spite of new opportunities that could expand access, we may have the right of free expression, but we cannot always easily access those expressions. In universities and college, we dedicate ourselves to the creation of new knowledge, but we cannot guarantee that this knowledge will always be accessible to all the parties who want or need it. This is the environment in which we now live, and why we have chosen the right to information access as the theme for the first Jeremiah Kaplan Institute. Today's speakers will address the issue of the right to access to the communal resources of information and knowledge from the perspective of an educator, a steward of federal policy, a lawyer who's also a librarian, and a technologist who's also a researcher. In the spirit of the topic, today's presentations are being streamed live on the internet and will remain available afterward. So remember, those sitting in this auditorium are only a small part of the total audience. We're also planning to publish the proceedings electronically next year, and they will be available online free of charge to anyone who wishes to consult them. The Kaplan Institutes are co-sponsored, as I said, by the university libraries and the Rock Ethics Institute. And I think as I have framed the issues, you can see why we're so pleased to have the Rock Ethics Institute involved. It would also not be possible without the generous support of the Irving L. Horowitz Foundation for Social Policy, who is supporting this initiative. Mr. Horowitz has asked us to use this institute to honor the work and memory of his old friend, Jeremiah Kaplan. Through 5 decades of work in the publishing industry, Mr. Kaplan was a significant supporter of the social sciences and debates in public affairs. In 1947, he founded the publishing house, the Free Press. The Free Press became part of Macmillan Publishing in 1960, and Mr. Kaplan served as president of Macmillan from 1965 to 1973 and 1977 to 1986. He also served as president of Simon & Schuster from 1987 to 1989. We're very pleased to honor his memory with this series of institutes. I would also like to introduce another key person in these events, Mary Curtis, who is the current president of Transaction Publishers. Mary's with us in the front row here, and we're very pleased that she could join us today. It is now my pleasure to introduce Irv. Mr. Horowitz is the Hannah Arendt Distinguished University Professor Emeritus of Sociology and Political Science at Rutgers, the State University of New Jersey. He's also chairman of the board and editorial director of Transaction Publishers at the university. William Form, former editor of the American Sociological Review, has lauded him for making a larger contribution to fundamental theory in social development and political sociology than any individual in the profession. And Jeremiah Kaplan, the founder of the Free Press, identified Horowitz as one of the most eminent social science publishers of our time. In 2006, Mr. Horowitz, along with Mary Curtis and Transaction, gave the Penn State University libraries his own papers, the business records of Transaction, and a small collection of manuscripts and unpublished works of C. Wright Mills, the sociologist. Totals about 110,000 cubic feet, and we've been working hard to process these materials to make them available publicly. And today I'm very happy to announce that we're opening these archives to researchers for the first time this week. We consider this a unique and extremely important archive in the social sciences. We're also digitizing the contents of this archive for online access to researchers worldwide and expect to have that work completed by the end of 2010. So we're personally grateful to Transaction Publishers and to Irving Horowitz for his faith in Penn State University, and we're pleased that he can join us to kick off the first Kaplan Institute.